Hello everyone, welcome to Teen Talk Podcast. My name is Akmal and I will be your host for today. I am from Group 6, Course SSD 1323, Lifespan Development. In this episode, I will discussing one major issue faced by adolescents today, which is school dropout or in Malay, keciciran sekolah. The purpose of this podcast is to raise awareness about this issue by explaining the causes, psychological factors, consequences, and possible solutions to reduce school dropout among adolescents.
Hello, my name is Amin Yusof. I'm from CD 19. What is school dropout? School dropout refers to a situation where students leave school before completing their secondary education. This issue often occurs during adolescence because this stage involves significant emotional, physical, and social changes. Many adolescents struggle with academic pressure, peer relationship, and personal problems, which may cause them to lose interest in school. When students feel that school does not support their needs, they may choose to drop out. To understand why a student leaves school, we must shift our view. Dropout is not an academic event. It is the final behavioral outcome of prolonged psychological crisis. It is the endpoint of a cascade where fundamental human needs go chronically unmet. Recent, concrete research from 2025 national study in Turkey allows us to move past these theories and see exactly how these psychological failures manifest in the real world. We can understand this crisis through three psychological lenses. The first is self-determination theory. It states that motivation requires three things: competence, relatedness, and autonomy. Dropout happens when the school system thwarts them all. Consider competence. This is the need to feel effective. A student thinks, I can't do this and no one is showing me how. This is not just about failing a test. This is the reality of a child who falls behind without support. Learning that effort is futile. It is a state of learned helplessness. Now apply this to the data. The Turkey study found that an older adolescent, aged 15 to 17, is a major risk factor. Why? This is often the point where years accumulated academic struggle and a rigid curriculum culminate. The system has not built their competence. It has confirmed their inability to succeed within its framework. Next is relatedness, the need to belong and connect. A student feels, I don't belong here. No one knows or cares about me. This is social isolation, a lack of even one trusted adult. The Turkey data shows this need is violated in gender and systematic ways. The study confirmed that girls face a uniquely higher dropout risk. This is not about academic ability. It is driven by social norms, family attitudes that do not value their education, and even infrastructural failures like a lack of separate sanitation facilities at school. When school environment does not provide safety, belonging, or cultural relevance, the psychological need for relatedness is shattered. The student disengages. Finally, autonomy. This is the need for self-direction and control. A student concludes, this has nothing to do with my life or my choices. A 2025 study finding is critical here. Children with significant caregiving responsibilities at home at much higher dropout risk. Why? Because when the child must care for siblings or relatives, their autonomy over their own time and future is erased by family duty. The curriculum feels irrelevant because their daily reality is dominated by responsibilities the school does not see or acknowledge. This brings us to the second crucial theory, ecological systems theory. The psychological crisis does not happen in a vacuum. We must look at the entire ecosystem surrounding the child. The Turkey research provides the map. A child from a large household where resources are strained faces pressure in the home ecosystem. The critical breakdown is in the mesosystem. The connection between these worlds when a teacher does not understand a family's economic desperation. or a parent is disengaged due to their own low educational level. There is no united support. The child is caught between systems that are not communicating, all of which are failing to meet their needs. The data shows proactive factors like maternal employment and education. This proves that stability and support in one part of the ecosystem can fortify the child against failure. The timing is explained by stage environment fit theory. Adolescence is the developmental stage defined by the quest for autonomy, identity, and peer importance. Yet, our secondary schools often offer less autonomy, less personal connection, and more impersonal pressure. It is a profound mismatch. For a teen asking, "Who am I?" a school that makes them feel anonymous and incapable is not boring. It is actively hostile to their developmental task. Leaving can be the only authentic choice to force an identity outside a confining system. Therefore, the data points are not random. The working child, the caregiver adolescent, the disengaged girl are not making isolated bad choices. They are exhibiting the logical outcome of a prolonged psychological process. The student is not failing the system. The system repeatedly is failing to provide competence, connection, autonomy, and developmental appropriation for them. And that is my explanation. Thank you.
Here's a school dropout among teens in Malaysia. Firstly, statistics shows that in Malaysia, thousands of students drop out of school each year, mostly at the secondary school level. And then the dropout rate is below 1%, but this still means many teenagers do not finish school. And then the Ministry of Education reported that dropout rates have decreased from 2020 to 2024, showing improvement, but the problem still exists. And my second point is research findings out why are teens in Malaysia. In my research, this shows that studies in Malaysia found that teenagers drop out mainly because of this thing. The factor is financial problem. The family cannot afford school costs, and then they need to work. My second point is they need to work. The kids or the student need to work to support their family, and then they have no interest in studying about school subject or what. Just show that low academic performance, and then lack of interest in school. And then my point is family problem and weak parental support. They have no support. They have no motivation to go school. And then transportation issues, especially in rural area like Sabah, Sarawak. And then peer influence and negative school environment like bullying and discipline issues. This research also shows that students who often skip school are more likely to eventually drop out. And my third point is case study in Malaysia. Firstly, rural area and East Malaysia like Sabah, Sarawak, shows that teens in remote areas have higher dropout risk due to distance, poor access to school, and poverty. And then they have low income families. Some teenagers in Sabah, Sarawak leave school yearly to work or take care of their sibling, because in there do not have a daycare and maid, and the wildlife in the rural area is so dangerous for their kids. That's why the students are more likely to take care of their brother compared to study. And then orang asli communities drop out linked to lack of parental awareness. about education and cultural factor, like my previous point. And my fourth point is government response. Firstly is financial aid and school assistance program. And then they must doing a counseling among the student and support service to open the mind of the student why how bad is going to them because of they want to dropping out school, to show them the real world is how the real world is working. And then the government can do a alternative education pathway such as a TVET. The government must more likely highlight that TVET and the school is same level. And lastly, they can do a program to bring dropouts back into the education system. All of this effort have helped reduce dropout rates, but continuous support is still needed. And my simple conclusion is school dropout among Malaysian teens is decreasing, but it not eliminated. And then poverty, low motivation, family issues, and school disengagement are the main causes. And then early support and targeted program are important to keep teenagers in school. That's all my point.
Analysis: contributing factors and consequences. Contributing factors: 1. Family problems such as divorce and financial stress. 2. Peer pressure and negative social influence. 3. Low motivation and lack of interest in learning. 4. Mental health issues such as stress, anxiety, and depression. Consequences: school dropout limits future opportunities. Adolescents who leave school early often struggle to find stable jobs and may face social exclusion. This can affect their overall quality of life and personal development.
We've diagnosed the problem. School dropout is a psychological and systemic crisis. Now, we turn to solutions. How do we rebuild the pathways to engagement? The answer requires coordinated action from these three fronts: school, parents, and the community, each with a clear practical role. First, schools must transform from gatekeepers to gateways. Their job is to identify and rearrange. This means using simple, proactive data. Imagine a system that automatically flags a student the moment their attendance drops, their behavior shifts, or their grades slip in a core class. This is an early warning system for disengagement. It triggers support, not punishment. A mentor meets with the student. This addresses the critical need for relatedness. Every student needs one caring adult in the building who knows them, advocates for them, and is their first point of contact. But connection alone isn't enough. Schools must also rebuild a student's sense of competence and autonomy. This requires diversifying the path to success. We need more projects-based learning that tackles real community issues, and robust career and technical education that links algebra to a future in engineering or healthcare. When learning feels relevant to a student on lives and ambitions, it fuels autonomy. Finally, schools must embed support. A mental health counselor and academic tutor should be as accessible as the school librarian. Normalizing help and meeting crises before they lead to an exit. The second front is parents and families, the foundational support system. Your role is not to be a tutor, but to be the chief reinforcing officer. This starts with communication. Move beyond asking, "What grade did you get?" and start asking, What's the question you argued about in class today? Or, what did you feel most confident today? This monitors their sense of belonging and competence. Create consistent routines. A predictable time and place for homework, even in a busy or crowded home, signals that education is non-negotiable priority. It provides stability, proactively partner with the school. If there's a challenge at home, a job loss, an illness, increased care duties for the siblings, share that context with a teacher or counselor. This turns the school from a judge into an ally, strengthening that vital connection. And most importantly, praise the effort, not just the outcome. Say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how you worked through that problem to build a mindset that perseveres through difficulty. The third and the broadest front is the community and the policymakers. Their role is to build scaffolding that allows families and schools to succeed. This means creating a direct economic support programs to provide families with financial incentives for keeping their children in school. This can offset the desperate need for a child's labor or income, the top driver of dropout in studies from Turkey. And for those the system fails, we need to dignify second chances. Robust night schools and online credit recovery programs acknowledge that life is not linear and provide an on-ramp back to education. The most powerful model that ties this all together is community school. It turns the school building into a hub where students learn, families access job trainings, and food support and health clinics operate. It, it physically weaves together the school, the family, and the community support, strengthening the entire ecosystem around the child. The solution is not a single program. It is a unified strategy. Schools rearrange, families reinforce, and communities scaffold. When these three act in concert, we change the trajectory from disengagement to durable, hopeful engagement. Thank you for listening.
In conclusion, school dropout is a serious issue that affects adolescents' psychological and social development. By understanding the causes and consequences, parents, schools, and communities can work together to prevent school dropout. Education plays a vital role in shaping a better future for adolescents. Thank you for listening to Teen Talk podcast. I hope this discussion helps raise awareness about the importance of education among adolescents. Thank you.